Hello, I'm James Clemens. I'm the owner of Freedom from Anger LLC, which is a behavioral health company. I'm here today on the Online Prosperity Show. I share a little bit about my military background, some of my personal information, and how I've got into the field of behavioral health. I hope you stay tuned and listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today we've got a guest whose journey is as compelling as it is inspiring. Now, James, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, James, I would want to start off and say thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. For those that are wondering what I'm going on about, well, it's not just James Beard that I'm a fan of. I want you to imagine a U.S. Marine veteran who, after having served his country, dedicates his life to actually helping others navigate the turbulent waters of anger, stress, and addiction. And that's precisely who we have on the show today. James Clemens, who is the founder of Freedom from Anger LLC. Now, what you're going to realize today is, James is a licensed alcohol and drug counselor with over a decade of experience in behavioral health. And obviously, during the 2020 pandemic, while everybody else was busy socially distancing and coughing into their elbows, he recognized the pressing need for accessible behavioral health education, and he actually took the initiative to provide virtual classes, and he started reaching individuals across the globe. And his commitment has now there to help others, to be, do, and have a happier existence. And it is evident in his work where he's offering courses in anger management, stress management, and also substance abuse. Okay, now in today's episode we are going to dive into James' transformative journey, exploring the challenges that he faced and the insights that he's actually gained, and also the invaluable lessons that he now imparts on to others, because I viscerally believe in life we're here to live, to learn, and to contribute. And when we've learned enough, we just need to send the elevator down so that other people can be, do, and have a happier existence. So whether you're seeking personal growth or considering professional collaboration, I think James' story offers a beacon of hope and a roadmap to resilience. Now, James, can you maybe get us started off? Why did you join the U.S. Marine Corps?
Well, I come from a family of military men. My uncle, he retired from the Navy. My father was in the Korean War as a Marine. So, and my dad, he was, he definitely told me at a young age. He's like, well, you got two options here. He said, you either go to college or you join the military. And I was like, well, tried the college thing for a little while. I was like, let me go join the Marines. Just trying to be like my dad, I guess.
Absolutely. And obviously, as they say, the apple doesn't fall that far from the tree. What was the experience like being in the Marine Corps? Because I've heard stories from people that talk about ringing the bell, and people talking about sugar cookie and all those things that happen when somebody's in the Marine Corps.
I mean, it's definitely an experience. I don't think it's very difficult to explain unless you've been through it. I think that's why, we're the smallest military branch out there, and there's a lot of camaraderie that comes with that. Um, because unless you've been through it, it's really hard to kind of describe, regardless of whatever your MOS, your job was in there. I mean, it's that those, simplify, always faithful. Band of Brothers type thing. And but no, it was definitely a interesting, good experience, and I definitely learned a lot about myself and uh, other people. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And obviously, there's a bit of a hierarchy that happens within, the military, and obviously that creates an imbalance in the way people are treated and in the way people sort of perceive the actual experience. What was your experience like being in the military or in the Marine Corps?
It was like I said, every branch is different about how like the people get promoted and things of that nature. The Marine Corps is more based off of a lot of like a lot of physical performance, things of that nature versus you know you might be the greatest at your job, but hey, you don't run fast enough. So we're gonna promote this other guy over you because you don't do as many pull ups as he does, or you don't kind of fit the model. So it's totally a different kind of like you don't really test out for well, at least when I was in, you didn't really like test out to like get promoted stuff like that. When I had a cousin that was in the Navy at the same time, like he would take tests, and based off those tests, like he'd get points to go towards advancing. And the Marine Corps is like, okay, well, how fast did you run? How many pull-ups did you do? How well did you shoot? And not how good are you actually at your job. So kind of a different different view on things, but it might have changed. I mean, it's been 20 some odd years, so it's probably changed since I was in there.
Mm. I've heard instances where obviously the commanders would stress you out so much that you had to ring some sort of a bell to give in. Did that ever happen with you?
No, during boot camp, I mean, they're really trying to get you ready to be stressed and to put you in situations where, but I mean, to me, I mean, there was no quitting, so might as well just keep moving forward because, if you go down that road of quitting, then you're just making things worse for yourself. So it kind of makes you, go over that hump and kind of like keep on like, okay, yeah, this is tough right now, but if I give up, then it's going to be tougher. Which the great thing about boot camp is like when you're in the middle of it, a lot of the things that they make you do seems silly, seems trivial. It's like why are we doing this? I mean, this is stupid. It's repetitive. But on the backside, on the outside looking in, you're like, oh wow. After you're on the back end, you're like, wow, okay, they made us do that to actually prepare us to do this. Like, for example, like they used to do these. I forgot what they used to call it, like the Indy 500 or something. So you'd have like these scrub brushes, and then you'd have to like they'd wet the floors and stuff. So you'd have to bend over, and you're holding on to the scrub brush like this, and you have to like basically kind of like crawl, but you're going around in circles cleaning the squad bay. And of course, the drill instructors are yelling all this other stuff, and you're kind of racing against other people, which seems really ridiculous. But later on in the training, you see that hey, that kind of crawling is a way you can actually carry somebody like underneath you. So it's basically building your muscles to like prepare for that because you can actually have somebody underneath you, take your belt, wrap around them, and crawl like that and move somebody, away from danger. Now we didn't know that when we were going around in circles, but like I said, it all kind of like pieces together. So it's kind of interesting.
Wow. I've also heard, there's instances where you're given a jammed gun that you have to, obviously work with, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe instances of you having to carry a dead body or somebody who would have been a teammate of yours or a member of your platoon or,
Mm-hmm.
and things of that nature. Wouldn't that frustrate anyone?
Oh yeah, yeah, it definitely frustrating because you might be on a like for example in boot camp, I remember a time where we was out doing some drills and stuff, just kind of marching, and then lo and behold, they're like, "Hey," they pointed over at this other dude. He's like, "Hey, you hit a landmine. Hey, Clemens, pick him up. Now you have to carry him the rest of the way." And it's like why me? Like I know I'm a little bit bigger than everybody else, but oh man, you know. But it's just one of those things where it's really trying to mentally prepare you for these different situations. You don't have time to go, well, I don't think that's fair. And what about so and so? No, no, it's like, hey, we have to keep moving. Hey, do this, and keep moving forward. Um, d- but it was definitely a interesting time.
Mm. And how long were you there for?
I served for 4 years. I served for 4 years, and came back home. And um, unfortunately, when I came back home it was 2008, and the economy was tanked, and you couldn't find a job nowhere. And talking about frustrating. It's like I just served my country. I thought, hey, I'm gonna breeze into any job I want. I mean, I couldn't get a job at Walmart. I mean, everything crashed. Nobody was hiring. I thought about going back into the military. It was that bad, and took me months before I could actually find actual work. So
Mm.
definitely had to practice some some anger management during that time.
I can only imagine because I bet you, like you are now, you're a civilian, right? When you're coming in from a regimented sort of environment where you're waking up at a certain
Mhm.
time, everything works, and everybody who's around there understands and knows why
Mhm.
they're there, and everybody
Mhm.
respects the uniform, the code, or whatever, ethics that you guys abide by. And then you show up at Walmart where people, I think Walmart should have like a viewing deck where people go in to see what is,
Yeah.
happening in America today, and that could be a
Mhm.
reality show in and of itself. Wouldn't that really piss you off?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, it was. I didn't know what to think. I guess I probably should have paid more attention to uh, the news. But I just said like, hey, I did my 4 years. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna, tackle the world, and it's gonna be easy, and all those things. But little did I know that, hey, we just had a huge market crash, and everything, kind of went tits up. So everybody was scared to hire anybody new. A lot of people getting laid off, losing their pensions. The housing market crashed. It was a you know pretty bad time if you remember back in '08.
Mm,
And I got out right at the beginning of '08. But
right.
yeah, but
Ha-
definitely had to learn to uh, take rejection quite a bit because it was just because my mentality, like you said, like coming out of the military, I was like, hey, hey, I got this. This is the way things are supposed to go, and everything's, supposed to be in order. And hey, I should military experience. I should be able to get any job I want. Um, Trust me, I did not want a job at Walmart, but I was trying to think of any place that was hiring because I had to have money coming in, and even they weren't hiring. So it was definitely a tough time.
mm. How did you deal and cope with that particular period?
Uh, lucky. Um, I had supportive friends and family that just kept saying, "Hey, just keep looking, keep trying." And then luckily, through somebody that's was like a neighbor of my sister's or something, said, "Hey, there might be an opening here. I'll put in a good word for you." So it kind of went back to kind of like kind of who I guess. But I saw it as, hey, a job's a job. I actually ended up doing that job for about, I don't know, about 5, 6 years. Um, before I decided to move on. But I was just so thankful at the time because I mean, phew. And what's really funny is at that time, like when I got out and where I work at now, and I've worked there for the last 10 years, I actually applied at the same place and did not get hired. So, flash forward, see what, 2008. Yeah. So 8 years later, then I started working there.
Wow.
So it's kind of an interesting thing. And when I went there and was doing the test to try to get a job, I mean, there was people was lined up around the walls. I mean, there was standing room only. And now we're struggling to get people. So it's kind of interesting how that look kind of turn of fate. It's like I didn't
Mhm.
get hired then, but 8 years later, I got hired and been there the last decade.
Doesn't that make you angry?
No, no, I definitely you just have to look at the big picture, and hey, I wasn't the only one looking for a job. And you look at the economic situation that was going on. I mean, I was very thankful for getting the jobs, that I had.
Right. So you leave the military, you go into a world that you had to literally die to defend, and yet it's not paying you back the way that you would have wanted it to. What's going on in your mind? You can't even get a job, in a space where you literally put your life on the line to defend.
Yeah, like during that time, I came out because I went in. I was an old man when I went in, or quote unquote an old man when I went in the military. Um, so when I actually got to my duty station, I was 21, and that's old, for being a private in the Marines. So I was an old man. So when I got out, all my friends back home, they moved on in life, graduated college, got married and had kids and stuff. So here I come out in '08, and I'm like, hey, let's keep, partying and doing stuff like we did when we were in high school. But it's like, hey, wait a minute, everything's shifted. So now here it is. I don't have the connections that I used to. I've been gone for 4 years. And I come back. Now I can't find a job. A lot of my friends they're off doing them. So it was a very lonely time in my life. And I chose to, you know, um, self medicate, do things of that nature. I'm not proud of. But because I was probably if I was to guess, I was probably dealing with a little bit of depression, um, things of that nature. But being a stubborn Marine, stubborn male, I'm not gonna go asking for help. I'm just, hey, I'm gonna tough it out and hope for the best, and probably wasted at least a couple of years of my life just being angry and upset, and having that mentality. Hey, I serve my country. I can't find work, or if I've got work, I don't like what I'm doing. Um, relationships are kind of gone to the wayside. Um, and when you're in that kind of little funk, that kind of a spiral, not many people want to be hang around you.
Mhm. Now,
Yeah, but
that doesn't the military or the Marines, maybe if you get discharged, prepare you for what the world really looks like?
I hope they do now. Not when I was in there. Pretty much getting out, they were basically the programs that you're required to take. That's supposed to prepare you to transition was basically the programs designed for them to try to get you to reenlist. So that
Mhm.
was the main focus, to try to get you to reenlist. Um, and then you come out and you don't know like what kind of benefits you're Title II. You don't. They don't. You have to figure out all this stuff on your own. I mean, I wasn't registered with the VA until I don't know what year, and because like you just kind of let out there and like am I supposed to or am I entitled to anything? I don't know this, and until I finally actually sat down and after years later sat down and talked to somebody, I didn't know. Um, I, I'm hoping, I think that they've gotten better at that because the transition and there's a lot more focus on mental health now, as far as you know, veterans, suicide and things of that nature. There's a huge focus as well it should be now. Uh, Back early 2000s, not so much. It was just kind of, hey, you're not reenlisting. Good luck. Or we're going to promise you these different things if you reenlist. You don't want that? Yeah, good luck. And then you just
Wow.
kind of out there on your own. And that was
Mm.
my experience, anyways.
So obviously that would have been, a lonely road, considering, like I said, everybody else that you knew had already moved on, people were doing stuff, and you hadn't been creating that for yourself in that sort of 4 years that you were away. Now, what experience then influenced your decision to become a licensed alcohol and drug counselor?
Actually, it was just dumb luck. I always knew that um, I was always kind of the person people went to talk. If they had something on their mind, hey, we can talk to Clemens. He'll listen. I always knew I had that kind of knack. Um, but when I finally got my head out of my tail and decided, hey, go back to college, get a degree, quit feeling sorry for yourself, you know, leave the booze and the women alone, focus on you, quit complaining. Um, and another thing I didn't mention was that my mom passed away a year before I got out of the military, so that didn't help out things much either. Um, but it went to that day I actually looked myself in the mirror and I was like, okay, well, if my mom was still alive, she would kick my tail for acting this way and for using her as an excuse. Because, with grief and stuff, your friends and family, they'll let you slide for a while. But when it gets on into years and you're using the excuse, hey, my mom passed away, eventually people are going to go, hey, you got to get over that stuff and don't quit using that as an excuse. So when I finally got my head out of my tail and decided, all right, no matter what, I'm going to work. I'm going to go back to college, get my degree, and I just put all my energy into that. So when I was finishing up my degree, um, I needed to intern somewhere, and just so happened one of my professors um, worked for a law enforcement agency, and my main degree was in criminal justice because in my mind I was going to be like an FBI agent. I was going to, go out there and catch the bad guys, that sort of thing. So I was like, I don't care. I was like, I said, I need to intern anywhere. I said, I'm running out of my GI Bill. I got to finish this up. I can't lollygag anymore. I'm already in my, what was that? I was pushing 30 pretty hard at that time. I was like, I need to get this nailed down. So I ended up going to intern there, and they're like, "Well, what department do you want to be in?" I was like, "I don't care." I was like, "I just need to put the time in, so I get my degree." And they're like, "All right, we'll put you in a programs division." Okay, what's programs division? I don't know. And from doing the internship, I realized, hey, it feels good to help somebody out, to help these people that have, you know, like myself, have gone through some troubling times, and hey, I can share some of my experiences, and they get it. And I was like, hey, it's pretty cool. And then once I got to the end of my internship, they offered me a part time job. So I said, all right, I'll do this for a little while until I get my resume out there, and I'll be Secret Service or FBI, that sort of thing. And yeah, I made great grades, so I probably could have went down that road, but and then I just never left. Um, and then I started teaching alcohol and drug treatment, domestic violence, anger management, pretty much any program you can imagine over the past decade I've taught. And and like you said about when I branched off and I'm doing freedom from anger, that's because there was a need in 2020. So yeah, so
Absolutely.
that's kind of a long short of it. I'm sorry,
Absolutely. I
ramble
mean,
there, but
it's your life. We're obviously trying to feed into
yeah.
a 1 hour episode. And thank you so much for sharing this with us, because so many people are going through stuff, but they don't quite know that they
Mhm.
there are other people that might be going through this as well. And speaking of other people, now, is this something that was just a James thing? Just because obviously, yes, mom had left and you'd just been, thrown into a world that seemingly is not what you fought for, and everything else just didn't look like it was supposed to be where it was. Or is it something that so many people go through, from what you've gathered now?
Well, I think everybody's experiences, they're unique, but they're not special, because when we go through the human experience, we like to think that hey, our situation is special and nobody's ever been through what I've been through and nobody will understand. But in reality, trust me, somebody in the span of all humanity, somebody's been through something very, 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 very similar. And to totally just shut off and to think that, hey, my experience is so unique and so special that I can't ask anybody for help is just setting yourself up for failure. I might not 100% know what you're going through, but if I just get 75%, then hey, I can help or less than that. But a lot of us, we like to use that as an excuse that, okay, well, nobody's ever loved the way I've loved. And, nobody can help me. Nobody can give me advice. It's like,
Yeah.
cut it out. You ain't that special. Sorry. Okay. Like we're a little speck on this spinning marble, you know. So just get
Mm.
over yourself, and if you need help, ask for help, and let's go from there.
Absolutely. I mean, excuses only sound best to the person that's telling them anyway. You know what I mean? Sometimes,
Hmm.
you might think, oh, woe is me, but what's that statement that I used to cry that I didn't have shoes up until I came across somebody who didn't have feet? And
Hmm.
so you now start looking at the problems in comparison, and you're like, oh, wait a minute. That obviously is my little burden is yeah, can be bearable, and it's usually half of the times it's situations that people face. It's just a matter of information, and obviously that's what you are now doing and helping others be do and have a happier existence. Now, so many people, obviously, James, I don't know if you can relate to this, but so many people haven't gone through a tough situation in life. Like they've never lost a parent, they've never been hungry, they've never gone thirsty, they've never had to be a sugar cookie, they've never had to, sleep or go for days without knowing where you are, but just trusting your true north that you will get home and things like that. Up until the biggest button break for everyone was the 2020 pandemic. Okay, so then a lot of people went through stuff and they didn't know, a lot of liberties were taken away from them, and they didn't know that was actually possible. And so many people's patterns got broken. And you noticed that there was a void during that time. What did you see that we couldn't have seen?
Well, I just noticed that, I mean, you look at, I mean, I know things were pretty, got pretty interesting down, down under. Things are interesting here too.
Right.
I mean, you just turn on the news and you see people like how many people died over a fight over somebody not wearing a mask. You know,
Mm,
and to me, that is just so preposterous. I can't wrap my mind around that. That I mean, it was just the tensions. I mean, tensions were so high, like you could just feel it. I mean,
mm,
just going out in public, you could just feel it. Everybody was on edge. Everybody was on edge, and all it takes is a little spark to ignite something. And that's literally the first time in my life I just feel that, like just walking around. It might be Walmart. It's like you just tell everybody's just vibrating, just on edge, and it's like, oh my goodness, this is not, because when you're isolated, when you're told, you know, nobody likes to be told what to do, not to do. When you're told, hey, you can't do this, then guess what? We're going to buck up against it, and then we're going to get angry, and then we're just going to carry that anger around with us everywhere we go. And like I said, that tension was just, you could cut it with a knife. Um, and I, me and a buddy of mine, when we started Freedom from Anger, we're like, hey, like, let's put it out there. Let's make it available to the world if they want to, have a place where they can vent, have a place where they can learn some techniques to try to, kind of cut loose some of that tension. Because if I'm operating wound up, I have no control over how you're operating when you're wound up. So the best thing for me to be safe is, hey, I need to you know, decrease my operating temperature, so to speak, so I can be aware, I can know what's going on, rather
mm,
than just kind of be blindly going into a situation when, I mean, you just look at, I know in America, I mean, remember people dying and waiting in lines to get a chicken sandwich. I mean, people, like I said, you got to be aware of those surroundings and try to keep yourself out of those situations. But definitely during the 2020s, it was it was definitely a different time, and I'm glad that, knock on wood, hopefully we won't have to go back to something like that.
absolutely. You're right. Because people didn't know how to behave in situations like that. They've never had been told you can't go further than your mailbox or things of that nature. So you can only imagine, yes, tensions were rising and things of that nature. But how did you manage to cut through? Because during that time, I can remember, you did mention that we had we had a sticky situation ourselves here in Melbourne. I think we were the most
Yeah.
locked down around, so everybody was just tethered to the television to hear what the next instructions or recommendations would
Mhm.
be. And how were you able to then cut through that sort of tension and show up with Freedom from Anger LLC?
Well, I mean, a lot of it was just listening to, you know, listening to people's concerns and really trying to figure out, okay, well, you got all these concerns. So, okay, where do we go from here? And to really break things down to, if you're not familiar, I'm a huge Dr. Albert Ellis fan. He's the one who started REBT, Rational Emotive Behavioral Therapy. He's the godfather of cognitive behavioral therapy. Some people argue about that, but hey, he kind of put it together first, so let's give it to him. But yeah, just really breaking down. Okay, well, what am I in control of? What am I not in control of? What kind of thought patterns am I having? Are they rational? Are they irrational? Is it rational to think that everybody I come in contact with today is going to treat me exactly how I want to be treated? Like, no, it's not rational. Okay, the rational thing would be, okay, I'm going to run into people that are going to get on my nerves. I'm going to run into people that I don't agree with. Uh, do I have control over the the order that's coming down from the mayor or the governor? Or I, I don't have control over that. What do I have control of? I have control over me. And to really take things from being this, our minds are out here in this huge planet. Okay, let's narrow it down to, okay, right here. This is what I'm in control of. I can't control the entire world, but I can control, my emotions, my actions, and to look at things from that rational standpoint, and to remove, a lot of language from our vernacular, like the absolutes, must, should, always, never. Those are absolutes. And when I'm using those absolutes, must, should, always, never, I'm setting myself up for failure. Well, I should get my pizza in 30 minutes. The reality is, you're going to get the pizza when you get the pizza. But if I have the mentality that I should get it in 30 and I get it in 35, so now I've already told myself, now I'm justified in being upset because it should have been here in 30. When the reality is, who said you're going to get it in 30 besides you? You're putting that stipulation on there just so you can be justified to be angry. And we do that all the time. So yeah, just the words that we use, the way we talk to ourselves, and just looking at things from that rational viewpoint, using Dr. Albert Ellis's RABT is huge.
Yeah. But James, if you look at the world we live in today, I mean, obviously from the pandemic, you had to connect with people virtually, which meant you had to deal with technology, you had to deal with people from different cultural backgrounds, people that didn't even know who you were or didn't even care who you were, and things of that nature. That must have been all the much frustrating. And during that time, algorithms within social media were changing, and you needed to figure out how to do all of this. How did you stay composed? And while you're at it, please tell us what a hashtag is, because I'm still trying to figure out that part.
That is hilarious. You said that because I kid you not. My wife and myself had to call her younger sister on the phone and ask her, okay, what's a hashtag? And she was like, "You've got to be kidding me! You've got to be kidding me!" And I'm still not a big social media person. I think I've gotten the technical stuff down pretty good. Um, but I'll tell anybody, like, hey, I've had a 70-year-old Vietnam veteran take my class virtually. If he can do it, trust me, anybody can. And that it there's a few little speed bumps there, but but we got through it, and it was a good experience. Um, but yeah, I was definitely skeptical of the virtual thing because I've been used to doing in person for so long and doing groups and things of that nature. And I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot, just kind of see where it is. But I really noticed that, and there's been numerous studies that shows, hey, whether you're doing it virtual or in person, you get the same outcome. And now, if I can get some of the judges to believe that, then I'd probably have more traffic. Uh, but I realized, like, hey, one, okay, I can pretty much do a class at any time during the day. I can, and the client is in a environment that they're comfortable in. So you don't have to take off work. You don't have to like drive somewhere, go to a physical place. You don't have to sit in a group of people that you don't know. And I found that if it's one on one and if they're comfortable, then the odds of them opening up a bit more and revealing a bit more is a lot easier than you're sitting in a group with 10 other people that you don't know, you've never seen before. And I had to take off work today to come here and do this. So I'm already mad. that I'm having to do this because unfortunately, a lot of the people that I see are court ordered and things of that nature. So, uh, but that's fine. I get a lot of people that just realize, hey, I need help. So, and I welcome them all.
Mm. Absolutely. And I mean, obviously, I think what you're doing is really, really amazing because I think your services include anger management, stress management, substance abuse education, and things of that
Mhm.
nature. Now, how do you then manage to tailor this to individuals because you're talking to a global and diverse audience like you just mentioned,
Mhm.
70-year-old Vietnamese guy who obviously is wherever they are, they probably have internet made from
Mhm.
derived from trees or sticks. I don't know how they do it there, so it's things like that. How do you
Well, well, well. Let me correct you. It's a Vietnam veteran. Is so he was American, a Vietnam veteran.
Oh,
He
it's
was
not
in the
somebody in
army.
Laos. Yeah, it's not
No, no,
somebody
no, no. He's here in the U.S. But yeah,
having to
Vietnam
start a
veteran. Yeah,
fire in order to start the furnace. That starts the internet.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Um, but no, it just takes I always tell people like, okay, you're not going to figure it out in a 1 hour session. You're not going to figure it out in 2 hours, 3 hours. Like I'm not going to figure out you in an hour or 2 hours. It takes time to build on that. And primarily when I'm working with somebody, I very rarely, if ever, go below 8 hours. Like to me, 8 hours, we're just getting started. Um, and some people try to, people that don't want to do it are kind of reluctant and they don't want to commit to 8 hours, whatever. I said, hey, I said 8 hours, I'm just getting to know you. And I've got people that I'm working with now that, we've done 20 plus hours. Everybody's situation is different. Everybody financial situation is different. Some people do, say if they're court ordered for say 12 hours, they do the 12 hours and then they check in once a month. Everybody's situation is different, but it's just that really take the time to really getting to know them and not just, all right, I got a PowerPoint. This is day one. We're going to do this PowerPoint. And it's not cookie cutter. I mean, it's custom made for the individual. I might start, hey, we should talk about this today. And then, hey, you tell me about your day. Guess what? We're going off in a totally different direction. Okay, well, yeah, okay, let's talk about these coping skills. Let's go in here. Yeah, it's like I said, but it's not my class. It's their class. But unfortunately, I mean, just over the years, anger management. I really hate using the term anger management. I prefer the term emotion management because the whole that just the term anger management has gotten such a bad rap. It's like, okay, we're gonna do anger management, so I'm gonna go in and pop in the movie anger management,
Mm,
and like, hey, there's no money to be made in anger management. It's all in treatment and all this other stuff. Like, no, like I've been working with people in treatment for years, and trust me, there's a lot of anger there. And if there's one good place to start, it's really working on that anger. And
mm,
I just saw that not many people were taking it serious. People, I mean, I know places that I've worked, like you gave anger management to like the intern that didn't have any qualifications. Say, hey, hey, go keep them busy for a couple of hours. So I said, no, I said that doesn't fly with me. So on top of my alcohol and drug education, I decided to dive in and get as much education I could on anger management. Um, and because it is definitely something that is needed. And for us veterans, us military folk, us men for the most part, uh, I've had plenty of people go like, I'm not going to talk to a shrink, but I'll talk to you because hey, this ain't therapy. This is just You just want to educate me, right? You just want to teach me something, right? This is class, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on down. Come on down. And do we get into some therapeutic things? Yeah, we do. We touch on them here and there, but just getting their foot to the door is the main thing to me. If you tell, like I said, that Vietnam veteran, hey, you go talk to a psychiatrist. Hell no, I ain't doing that. I ain't crazy. Hey, I need you to go talk to this guy. You're gonna do a class on anger. Okay, yeah, I know about anger. Yeah, let's talk about anger. you know, so it's kind of what kind of trick people, for the most part. And if we get done doing the anger management thing, and you realize, hey, you need some help with substance abuse, I'll gladly pass you off to somebody that can better suit your needs, and vice versa. Like I said, I'm not a one stop shop or anything like that. But if I'm working with you and I find out I can't help you, I'll gladly refer you to somebody else. Or if you want to continue down the road to bettering yourself, if I can't provide those services, I'm gonna help you go to somewhere else. Um,
Mm. I quite like that, James, and thank you so much because with what you're saying, so many people will relate to you based on the what's the word, the camaraderie, the fact that you've been
mhm,
also part of, the military training. You understand them better than some, psychologists who they think is just gonna write a prescription that nah, they're nuts. So I feel like that actually makes a huge difference. And not only are you doing the classes, you are actually leveraging your expertise and your know-how by creating the Freedom from Anger podcast. I think that's how we would have
mhm.
connected. What inspired you to then venture into this, and weren't the tech issues reeling their heads in in there because you're getting into more complex technological parts of
Uh,
delivering your message here.
um, yeah, it's just one of those things where I thought about it like from the jump when I started Freedom from Anger. I was like, this podcast thing. I said it can't be that difficult. And then after being on several people's as a guest on several people's podcasts, I'd always question it. I'm like, hey, how do you do this magical thing called a podcast? I was like, hey, I've always thought about it, and pretty much they're like, yeah, it's pretty simple. Just do it. Like you'll figure it out. Just do it. Quit making excuses. Just do it. And finally, after I don't know, a couple of years, I finally was like, all right, I'm gonna try this. And like I said, I'm not learning the hard way. Oof, if there's a wrong way of doing it, I've done it and then some. Um, it was just, I mean, man, I haven't gone back and listened to some of my early podcasts, but oh man, just investing in a decent microphone, headphones. I mean, just little small things that I didn't pay any attention to. I had like a $5 mic. It just the whole podcast sounds like I'm underwater, and that's like, how come nobody ever said anything that this sounds like trash? And here I'm putting it out there, and I'm thinking, oh, that sounds good. And then I go back and listen to it, and oh, that's rough. That's rough.
Mm,
Um, but I think it's gotten slightly better. I don't have a staff or anything like that. But it's kind of interesting that we're having this meeting today because I just today just launched my Patreon page.
right.
I'm gonna try to put up some additional content for people where they can really, like I said, I want to build like this community of people that, are seeking knowledge, seeking information, and I've got mountains of it around my office, and I want people to go on there and be able to go, hey, I'm having a hard time this week about this issue. Hey, can you post something or talk about this thing? Yeah, okay, sure. And I go on there and I've got like my first thing that I posted. I just basically just went through a PowerPoint that I've used for years, just talking about a book that I enjoy, a self help book.
Mm.
and they actually posted the PowerPoint, so people can go in there and they can download it, and they got a reference. Um, and like I said, I've used it for years. Um, but yeah, I just thought, hey, probably need to get a little bit better at the social media, get it out there and stuff. But yeah, it's just called the Freedom from Anger podcast. It's on Patreon. Go to however you find your podcast, Apple or Spotify, it's on there. Um, but yeah, I would like to see it just kind of grow, and like I think they recommend that you charge at least $5. Well, I'm charging three. It ain't about the money. But I have found out that if people have a little bit of skin in the game, then they're more apt to ask questions and things, ask for help. Well, hey, I'm paying this guy $3 a month, so I better ask him something this month. Hey, please do, please, because I'm trying to get the information out there to you.
Mm, absolutely. And
Yeah.
congratulations on that. I know it's not easy putting stuff together and obviously putting your neck on the line to make sure that you're helping others, along the way. And from what I'm looking at it from the point of view of somebody who also creates content, James, I feel like you're literally giving people back to themselves. Okay, because if you really look at it, somebody who's going through, all these issues, anger, drugs, or things of that nature, that person is secluded from society, maybe from their loved ones, their kids. They can't even function or work and things of that nature. And when they go through, work with you, do those exercises or courses, and also listen to the podcast along the way, they're literally buying themselves back from you. It's only fair that they do obviously put some skin in the game, because I obviously believe if somebody doesn't pay, they're not going to pay attention. And if something is going to help you be to and have a happier existence, I mean, obviously, what's that worth to you? So, yeah, no, man, go ahead. And is Patreon the only place where people can find you, or is there other places? Is a website that we can direct people to so they can maybe get started on their journey, in order for them to have a happier existence in that way?
Oh yeah, pretty much. Except I haven't updated it today. I haven't put my Patreon link on there. But if you go to www.freedomanger.com, that'll you get all my information, our services, our rates, a little background, educational background. Got my personal email on there. Got my office number. Pretty easy to get a hold of. Uh, Typically, emails the easiest way to get a hold of me. Um, but yeah, freedomanger.com. It's not the prettiest website, but the information's there. So mm,
Absolutely. I appreciate that. I'll definitely put all those links in the show notes so that people can get started on their journey. And speaking of getting started, you know, let's just go to, finally something that, because we've spoken about a lot, your military background, everything else that comes along with it, and who you've become, and how you're now helping others, to do that. Somebody might be watching this and thinking, oh, but I don't have the discipline of the military. I don't have the strength that the Marines have. Then I don't have that mental fortitude and that mental stamina to literally get myself out of these crutches that I'm walking on. For our listeners that might actually be hesitant, and I'm hoping we don't have listeners like that, they might have relatives or people they might then share this video with, to help them out. What would be the first step towards maybe addressing their behavioral health challenges, that you might say, or what sort of words of encouragements can you offer to just inspire them to get started on their journey, James?
well, often I always tell people there's a movie came out in 1991, way back in the 1900s. It stars Bill Murray. It's called What About Bob? And if you're familiar with the movie, he's obviously got some psychological issues, and his psychiatrist has wrote a book, and he tries to teach them about baby steps, and that's what it's all about. It's in. I highly recommend if you've never seen the movie, watch it. It's hilarious, but yeah, it's just those baby steps. It's those small incremental changes that we can make on a daily basis that's going to pay huge dividends. We like to think that, if I realize, hey, I got an issue, and if I address it, then somehow overnight, then it's magically going to disappear and I'm never going to have to deal with it ever again. Or let's say you've taken an anger management class, or you've gone to therapy, and he's like, okay, I'm done with that. The world is not going to anger me ever again. No, no. Like I said, it's those baby steps of incremental steps that we can take.
Mm,
And if we can focus on those small steps, like, okay, well, let's say I get angry 10 times a day, and then I'm working on something, I'm only getting angry 8 times a day. Well, hey, that's a step in the right direction. you know, and don't beat yourself up because it's not, well, I should have only got angry 5 times. Like I said, we have that negative bias. We're always putting ourselves down, but just being able to acknowledge, hey, I might have an issue. I'm hearing a lot of chatter from my loved ones, and hey, probably need to get this under control. You might be fighting it, but just really having that self awareness that, okay, well, maybe I could learn a few things that's going to help me in the long run. But it's just taking those little baby steps, towards bettering yourself. That's what's going to pay the huge dividends. Because, man, if I could meet with you for an hour and you never get angry the rest of your life, I'd be a billionaire. Uh, and anybody that tells you they can do that, steer clear, steer clear.
mm. Absolutely. Well, James, I can't thank you enough for the time that you've spent with us today. I mean, seriously, your life story and your experience of so much tremendous value to whoever is watching and listening right now, because, we are going through stuff and things are changing. We literally have to keep running in order to stand still. And that's about to, frustrate a lot of people, because so many people, as you have sort of alluded to without saying it, are fully equipped for a world that no longer exists. All right. The way the social media is changing, the AI is coming in, it's going to frustrate a lot of people. It's going to change the way and the status quo and the way that we've always known our worlds to be. So it's about time for people to really, really sit back, take those baby steps, and actually start looking into how can I be, do, and have a happier existence. And James, I can't thank you enough for the time that we spent today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, yeah, just if you got any comments, if you want to send me comments directly, just go to my website. That's okay, good or bad. I always like constructive criticism.
I'll probably just come around and ask for the ideas on how to grow such a big beard, because I've been trying, man. You can see.
It's a little out of whack here, but yeah.
Fantastic. Now, thank you so much for those that are watching and tuning. I mean, obviously, it's been a bit of a long one, but obviously, things like this, as James has alluded, you can't just, flesh out in a space of 1 hour. But I want that as we conclude this insightful conversation, I really encourage you to reflect on the invaluable lessons that James has shared. I mean, his dedication to helping others and transform their lives is truly commendable. And if you have found this episode to be helpful or beneficial to you, please consider sharing it with someone who might also gain from James' experiences and insights, because so many people are going through stuff they might not be able to tell you. And as James has said, it's quite embarrassing for them to actually go and seek help because of, people like us do things like this. So you could help somebody get their life back together just by sharing them this video, and you could have saved a life or a family or an actual community based on that person is given their life back by them, going through James's freedom from anger courses and maybe just listening to the podcast. All right. While you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to the Online Prosperity Show for more inspiring content. But I want you to remember one thing: the journey to personal growth and resilience just begins with a single step, like the baby steps that James was talking about, and it starts right now. And I think you have taken that step already by spending this time with us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye for now.